Alright, let's talk about LTNC. Let's understand what it is. And besides all the noise you hear on Twitter, let's talk about or FinViz or StockTwits or Facebook or whatever you hear. Wherever you hear it, does matter. Let's talk about one undeniable fact. Stocks are math, supply, and demand. And let's express another fact. You buy something cheap and you sell it higher, you have a ton of power. Doesn't make any sense? Okay, let's say somebody bought 2 million shares of Microsoft when it first came out and still holding it today. You want to see a market crash? Let that theoretical person sell all 2 million at market. It happened in a moment. But let's demonstrate that with LTNC. Alright. First things first. We need a chart. Okay, so here's our chart. Right? LTNC. Now the question is, what day are you buying? My guess is, for most people, they bought the pump after it was loaded. So let's define loading. Loading is where some entity buys a ton of shares before news comes, or before a pump and dump, or before earnings, or some reason. Loading is not a bad thing. I'll show you a good example of loading right after we talk about LTNC. Loading is basically somebody who knows what they're doing, saying there is value, and putting their money where their mouth is. Nothing wrong with that. So let's talk about LTNC. First thing you got to know about loading, you have to know the power or the amount of money that can be moved from the people that load it. So how do we figure that out? Let's say, for example, you entered on 210 LTNC. And let's say, you bought the top. I don't know. Almost a penny. 0.0094. Alright. To figure out if there's loading going on, stop looking at 1 minute charts. Stop looking at 1 minute charts. Stop looking at single day 1 minute charts. Like, I think I need to put that on a replay. So if you bought on 210 and you had no idea what happened before that, you're a minnow. You're a bait fish. You are a guppy. So what do I mean by that? Let's say you bought at whatever price we said, 0.094. But if we look at the volume, right? The volume on this day is less than the previous 2 days. That's pretty significant. But that's mathematically true because it took more money to move it this high, right? That makes more sense. $1,000 stock to move, 2% takes a lot more money than a penny stock to move 2%. So how do you figure out how much power the people have before you? Okay, it's pretty simple. Pull up Excel, pull up Google spreadsheets, and this is what you do. I'll show you. You take the days that we have in question, 2/8/2021, 2/9/2021, 2/10/2021, to, I think it's 11. I don't know. Maybe it's a weekend. We'll check it out in a second. 2/11/2021. You need to know a couple things. Low, high volume. And we can become more complicated later. I'll do a follow-up video showing you the amount of shares that were sold, or a good way to guess it. And then we need to know the average, and right, the value of that average, right? So let's look at 2.8, 2.9, 2.10, and 2.11. All right, so I went ahead and I typed in the numbers from Thinkorswim. We'll go over them real quick. If you want to verify, that's fine. I don't care. So, right, high, low, volume. They're up here if you guys need to see them. High, low volume, high, low volume, high, low volume. Volume's right here, and high, low volume. Okay? These are just numbers. I'm not doing anything special. All right, so what's the average here? So average price, okay? You can't really know. You know, a ton of shares going to be bought on the low end, which would make this average wrong, and a ton of shares going to be bought on the high end. There's ways to figure it out, but if we're trading, we don't have all day. If you want to Michael Burry it, hey, you can. I'm just here saying this is the ballpark, and if I want to play the game or not. So this is really simple, right? Simple formula. Right? Okay. We would agree. Now, what's the amount of money that this costed? So, basically, all we're going to do is take our average price times our volume. There you go. So essentially on 2.8, $1 million, $1.1 million was paid into that stock. 2.9, 5.3, 2.10, 7.7, 2.13, 11.4. As volume started to decrease, right? Because it takes more money to move the stock up. Simple math. So, if you bought here, right, let's just say this is where you bought, right? You got to understand, these guys, let's just say, let's take this average price with these amount of shares and see what their power would have been. So we're taking the price of today times these shares. So these guys, by virtue of doing nothing, have 2, 4, 6, 8, have almost, you know, close to 1 million more power than everybody who bought on 2.11. Okay, that's fine. Here's what happens, though. Let's look back at our chart. So remember, 2.11 is when you bought, or 2.10. Underwater, overwater. You can pick wherever you want to be. It comes down, starts to sell, starts to sell, starts to sell, starts to sell. Starts to consolidate here, which is great for anybody here. But the problem is, like I said, these guys right here have more buying power than all buyers here. So there's no way for these guys to get out without losing money. So what do you get? Whenever you see loading and a ton of value, you get news or something, you're going to get a sell the news event. It's the only way this amount of power because it grows exponentially as the stock goes up, can get out. You have to bring the volume. You have to bring the ruckus. So what does everybody here see? Everybody sees the breakout. Oh, it's going to the moon. Or there's news. Oh, this will send it to the moon. That's great. I'm going to sell into you. This is how you get sold into. All right, so let's do the math. Let's say 0.2, 0.35 for, general purposes here of just getting an average real quick. All right, so we're back. And here's my 0.0275. Let's take, this is just 1 day. This isn't 2 days. What we really should be saying is E5. Oh, D2. I don't want to change that, sorry. D2 plus D3. That's really these two guys' power, right? Because there is virtually no selling those first 2 days. There wasn't. We can take a look at the chart, but I'll show you that in a second. So same formula, right? But now we're at this price. So D3 and needed to be D2 and D3 with the value of I6. Now they have $74 million of power. But they can't unload that, right? It's impossible. They can't unload it. It's mathematically possible without tanking the stock. So let's say, for general purposes, this morning, 50% of this volume is gone. That's about the rough amount of shares. So let's take these shares and put it at today's opening bell price, which you should have seen coming a mile away, but if you didn't, come talk to me. So today's price is 0.042. So same thing. Right? Just simple math, $22 million. If 50% has been sold of just these first 2 loading days. And basically, like I said, the problem is, what I try to show for Portnoy is, let's say that this is still the value and this is the price. This is what's going to get sold into them. $53 million. This is the Portnoy. This is when Portnoy said he'd buy. Portnoy can't buy till 0.10. And all of his followers will join along, and you'll have another sale. You get sale of the news because there's no way for this kind of power to get out without volume. Can't happen. Just can't happen. So that's what loading looks like. If you want to see a good example of loading, let's take a look at Peloton on the weekly chart. So here we go, right? We now know what loading looks like. A huge amount of volume before the stock moves up. This is Peloton on the weekly. It's pretty obvious where Peloton got loaded. Right here after earnings. Now you might say, oh, well, it was earnings. Okay, well, the earnings was the same. Okay? But let's talk about why this was loaded and how this was a really smart play. They took this stock from 40, or they loaded it at 32, and it's been up to 171. Let's talk about why this was really smart. This is May 4th, 2020. What was happening then? Coronavirus. what was happening? Gyms were shutting down. So what does that mean? Peloton, who does virtual classes with equipment, filled the void. You don't think this was a smart buy? You don't think this was value at the time? So we run up, and guess when Peloton's come down? When the vaccine's here. This is amazing value. This is a smart person. Now, could, LTNC be that? I'm skeptical, but maybe. So let's talk about how you can see if it's being loaded and it's being pumped. First things first, look for the volume, right? We looked at the chart. We saw the chart was loaded on 2.8 and 2.9. So be smart enough to come back into Twitter, and since everybody puts the money symbol, this should be pretty easy. Go to Twitter's advanced search. 2.8 to 2.9. And we can also find the people who were smart. Maybe we want to follow them. So February, let's just start at the 6th, 2021, February, 2.8, 2.9, 2.10, because the way the search works, 2021. Search. Not going to go through this very long, it's pretty obvious. Okay, so 2.5, Kevin, nothing there. This looks like kind of a bot. I don't know, Ray Morris looks like a smart guy to me right now. But then you have Ryan here, who's all over this from the time it starts, so I don't know. Okay, so this is, hey, the Chiefs are a huge client for LTNC. So here we start, the 6th. Been sleeping too long in LC. They'll find out soon. Okay, well, Ray and Ryan, I don't know. LTNC will help y'all load it. Well, this is the 6th, so nobody with real money load it yet. It just hasn't. You can look at the chart. Let's not miss this one. Okay, so now the word's getting out. Wow, Chiefs are a client. Okay. Didn't realize Chiefs are a huge client. And the Royals are a client too. Former IT professional insurance agent. Oh, okay. Alright, and then we got the Ask Warren kind of bot person thingy. Awesome update. So it looks like the CEO started knocking this on the 6th. He's probably been pushing it up before that, but, maybe because of the Super Bowl right then? I don't know. This guy's picking up shares before the morning bell. Yes, pursuing franchises. OTC play of the day. Oh, look, it's getting hit. Well, that's because, we're talking about it. 10's getting attacked. When he means 10s, he means 0.001. Not 4 cents where we're at. Not 400 times the power. No longer sleeping on this one. Okay, so Stan the man. Here he goes. Confirms tweet is a client of theirs. Add it. This one's moving. Okay. So this tweet is pretty much what kicked off this entire trade. This is the origin, right here, of LTNC. Then you add on Stan, who's got a bunch of followers. Then you get the whole Sapphire crew involved. I guess that's what they're called. Whatever. And then you're gone. Because, as the chart shows, there was $1 million paid that day and $5.3 million the next day. And that is what you call loading. The power of loading. The power of people pumping. Now you're at 4.3 cents, and it's just moving. And unfortunately, as everybody's going to learn, you're not going back up without news. Let me show you the real support here. So what we're really going to see here is, price has gone down since I even started this video. But, low a day, then 243. 243 is 2 cent, 2.0243, whatever, is major support. That breaks, you're going to see 211. Most likely this is your real stop. We can see the value, the volume today is a lot. It's all selling. Are new buyers going to rush in? I don't think so, because how much they have to pay to reverse this. So just to give you an idea, at 0.031 to get back up here. So let's just say, right? So how much money? Because remember, there's people that's buying. For every seller, there's going to be a buyer. So there's people that bought it all up today, and there's people trapped, and they're going to want to get out. How much money would it take to get back through this range? $3.1 million. That's with these people still in here. Anyway, that's how you need to look and see if something's loaded. And it doesn't take much. It doesn't take much. You look at the chart, see what day you're going to buy, look at the volume before it, find the average, take this volume, and understand as you creep up, when they're ready to sell, that's what you got to fight with. When they're ready to sell, that is what you got to fight with. So if this is going to the moon, it's not going to the moon until the chart starts to look like this. Or unless there's more news. That's the caveat. News could break and it could go like that. So, good luck, have fun, understand it was loaded. I think we'll know shortly if it was front loaded. But that's how the market works. There'll be a real valuation of the company and it'll come down.